Nice. How you guys doing? Good. Okay. So we are starting a new module today, as mentioned in our exit ticket this morning, or not exit ticket, bell work this morning. I will read those later when you guys are at music, just so I know how I can best help you, like going forward and things like that, right? So this is lesson 1. I would actually like you also to write that it's module 3. Okay, or not 3, I'm sorry, 2. 4th grade's doing module 3, so you're doing module 2, okay? Lesson 1, and then the date is the 21st of September. So 9/21/21. Go ahead and put that at the top of your fresh page. All right. We've been having a hard time with a lot of crazy noises recently, so I would really, really love it if we could just keep thoughts and silly things in our head for right now, okay? The less we have that, the faster we'll move through this, and the faster we will be done with math for the day, okay? So just kind of keep that in mind. So today our objective is we're going to multiply multi-digit whole numbers, okay? So that's things that can range anywhere from like 22 to 202 to, like multi-digit whole numbers based on, and multiples of 10, right? So that's like 20 or 100 or things like that, right? Multiples of 10 using place value patterns and the distributive and associative properties. What are those, right? So bottom line, multi-digit whole numbers and multiples of 10, okay? Using place value patterns. So we're going to still be working with place value. So we've got to know that this 20 right here is not like a 2 and a 0, right? It's 2 what?
2 tens.
Tens. Yeah, good. 2 tens. Okay, 2 tens, right? So that's important. We got to make sure we have that understanding down. Okay, and then we're going to use distributive and associative properties. Okay, so distributive is exactly what it sounds like. We're distributing values to a different value to try and multiply. Okay, and then associative. Okay, that's, you can think of it as like people who associate, right? Like I associate with Looney Tunes, right? Like I'm talking to them, I am working with them, so on and so forth, right? I'm associating with Wiggly Wolves. Like we're moving around and associating with each other. So that means that we're going to distribute different values to different numbers, okay? And then we're gonna, since it's multiplication, we can move the numbers around, and it doesn't matter the order. We'll still get the same answer, right? If I multiply 3 times 2 and get 6, I can multiply 2 times 3 and still get 6, right? So it's the same idea. So we're going to be moving numbers around, all that stuff, okay? So it's a pretty big lesson today, but I think it will go by fairly fast, okay? Any questions about that? All right, neat. We are going to bounce forward completely, okay? And just get right into it, okay? So like always, I'm just going to do this one first, and then you guys are going to join me, okay? So if you're going to be distracted by your notebook, maybe close it up, look up here, that sort of thing, okay? All right, so Donna, you can have that picture, but I want you looking up here though, okay? So, all right, we have 4 times 30. 4 times 30, right? You guys already know a quick trick to be able to multiply that, right? Where you can just multiply the front numbers, right? Take out the 10 of it, right? And do 4 times 3 and then throw that 0 back in there. Is that familiar to you? Okay. We did that a little bit last year, but that's not what we're doing today, okay? So we're going to take 4 times 30 and we're going to actually think of it, okay, as 4 times 3 tens, right? You know that 30 is also 3 tens. So we're going to be talking a lot in unit form today. Okay, so 4 times 3 tens. So then I can think of that as 4 times 3 tens, right? So 4 times 3, and then tens has got to be thrown in there as well, okay? So what is 4 times 3, friends? Go. 12, and then our tens gets thrown in. So that's the why, right? That's the why that quick trick works, right? It's because we're using the distributive and associative properties to multiply 4 times 3 and then throw tens back in there. Okay? Yeah, Lily.
So basically, we're we're deleting the tens, and then if you say you're having a conversation, and then 4 times 30? And I'm like, I don't know. And then you're like, what's 4 times 3? And they're like, 6. And then you're like, okay, 60.
12.
Or
4 times 3, 12.
120. Or no, I meant 4 times 2. Because I was like splitting it up. And then you're like, okay, 6. And I'm like, okay, 60. What's 60 plus 60? I don't know. Okay, what's 6 plus 6? 12. I thought they're back in there, yeah.
Kind of. We're kind of working with that, but it's a little different. So I'm glad you asked that though. So when we put this in like a place value chart, okay, if we're doing 4 times 30, it's just like what we've been doing, okay? So instead of having 30 ones and multiplying that by 4, right, I can have my 3 tens and then make 4 copies of that, right? So I have my 1 copy, 2 copies, 3 copies, 4 copies. Okay, is that familiar? Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right? So we know now we just did 4 times 3, which there's 12 dots in here, right? 12 little dots. So 12, right? And then how many ones do I have? 0, okay? Can I have 2 digits in a place value? No, so that 1 has got to move over to the hundreds place, right? So that's where I get my 120, okay? So everybody see how that relates to the place value chart? Right? We did 4 times 3, okay, in our tens place, and since it was in the tens place, it means we have a 0 afterwards, right? All right, so then looking at this guy, now we have 40 times 30, okay? So not 4 times 30, but 40 times 30. So we've got 4 tens times 3 tens. Like, do you agree? 40 is 4 tens, 3 is 3 tens. So it becomes 4 times 3 times tens times tens. So we're kind of like splitting everything up. We're like pulling it apart, thinking about the units, right? So 4 times 3 we already know is 12. And this is where it gets a little silly, okay? But tens times tens, really, friends, is just 10 times 10. So what's 10 times 10? Go. 100. Okay? So then from there, we have 12 copies of 100, which is just 1,200, right? 1,200s. You don't think of it that way. Okay? So really, we can think of this too, like, so this part, I kind of skipped it unintentionally, but 4 tens times 3 tens, that's like thinking of like 2 tennis balls times 3 tennis balls, right? So 4 tens times 3 tens is going to give me 12 tens, okay? Which can lead us down to here, which is 12 times 100, so on and so forth. And we pull that apart, okay? Lily.
So basically, like how I see it is, for the bottom one, 12 times 100, you're basically like rolling 12 in there, and like throwing the 2 between the 1 and 0. Just kind of like throwing it in there, and then just leave the zeros there because that's what it was equal. Because like, or you would have it and then just throw 2.
That makes sense, but that's not going to work every time, though. So for this problem, yeah. But for every problem, it's not really going to work like that. Donnie?
So really, it's just like 4 times 30 is 120, and then you just add an extra 0.
So you guys are all trying to find a quick trick right now. Don't do that, okay? Donnie, technically, yes, but that's not always going to be true, right? The only reason that works right now is because we're taking the same general problem and adding different values to it. So yes, but only because we added tens to the 40, okay? Or the 40. Olivia.
Are there problems if we had 40 times 30? Would we have to draw 40 times?
Good question. So you could do, yeah, good question. You could still do, yeah, so you would pull, like you could pull them apart and like see that hundreds was going to be involved somehow. You guys aren't working with place value charts today, so that's kind of why I'm grazing over it. But you could, I mean, theoretically, you would do like 40 copies of 30, but that's why we're not doing place value chart, because it's way too much work, right? Yeah, so it would be a lot. But that's a good question. But you don't have to worry about that today. So, or really any day. All right, so then here, my friends, same deal, right? We've got 40 times 300, okay? So it's 4 tens times 300s, right? So we're putting it into unit form. Then we pull the whole numbers out of there, okay? We pull them out. So we have 3 here, so we fill it in with 4. So we still have that 4 times 3, okay? And then it's tens times what? Go. What? Hundreds. Okay? I can see why you thought it was ones, but it is going to be hundreds, right? Because we got to keep the same, like, units from above, right? So we just take the whole numbers out and multiply them together, so we get 12, right? And then we can multiply the tens and hundreds, which is really 10 times 100, right? So 4 times 3 is 12, okay? And then we have 10 times 100, okay? So, anyone know what 10 times 100 would be? Think about it. 10 times 100. 10 copies of 100. Ready?
1,000.
Good, 1,000, okay? So 10 hundreds, right? 10 hundreds. We have our 12, so our answer would be 12,000. Okay? So we're taking the biggest part that's going to be, I think, hard is multiplying the units together, right? Like 10 times 100 is kind of funky. Just think of it as 10 times 100. Pull those whole numbers out, so 4 and 3. Multiply those separately. Multiply the units together, okay? Eddie?
On this one, 40 times 300, this goes for 40 times 32. Couldn't you just go 4 times 3 is 12, and then add just 3 zeros, because 200s have 2 zeros and 4 has 1 zero?
I'm getting there, but again, you guys are finding the quick tricks. We're not thinking quick tricks right now. We have to know the why before we get there, okay? So I will get there, but right now you need to know that it's not just 3 zeros, it's 10 times 100, which gives us 1,000, and then 12 times 1,000 gives us 12,000, right? So we will get there, but yeah, we gotta think, we gotta know the why first, okay? Henry, then Olivia.
So for where it says 4 times 3 times 10 times 100.
Yeah.
On that one, it's basically just saying like 10 times 100, right?
Right, yeah, and so that's why I rewrote it like that down here, like 10 times 100, yeah. It sounds funny, like this one over here, right, tens times tens. It's really just 10 times 10. So like take the plural out of it and just multiply it that way. Olivia?
So you used to say the TH after the
Mm-hmm.
10 and 100,000.
Yeah.
So every time you say tens, in my head I'm like 10.
Yeah, I know. I know, we worked with it for so long, so it totally makes sense why it would be tricky, but yeah. So, yeah, no worries on that, my friend. I know it can get tough. All right. So, my friends, I would like you to write these examples. You don't need to do the place value chart, okay? Because that was just kind of showing you that we're still multiplying like normal. So you don't have to do that part. But I do want you to put like put them in order. Like this example, then this example. Sorry, I'm kind of like writing over it. And then this example.
So like put them in order, like 40 times 30, 40, 4 times 30, 40 times 30. So
1, 2, 3. Okay. Everybody understand what they're doing? Okay. I'm gonna give you like 3 minutes. It shouldn't take you too long. Oh, sorry, I forgot to put this back.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I don't know if some of you had that question, but I erased it so we could like see the numbers more clearly, and then I forgot to put it back up. And if this isn't making a whole lot of sense right now, it's okay. We are going to do a lot more practice with it, and then I have like an explanation later that will help too. Okay. Got about a minute and a half. Maybe when you're done, close your notebook like Leela, so I know that you're ready to move on. Yeah,
This is fun.
Which one was it? So it's 4 times 3, which gave us 12, and then 10s times hundreds is 10 times 100. So it's 12 times 1,000. Yeah. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, no, so it's, yeah, I thought you were right. 12 times. Go ahead and close your notebook when you're done so I know you're ready to move on. Thank you, Leela, for doing that. Thank you, Jackson. Good job, you guys. Thank you for doing this quietly. We almost there, maybe? One more minute? Okay. Thank you, guys. Yeah, Olivia? Boys? Here? Yeah, that's fine. Can you wait till Jackson gets back? Alright, guys, we are gonna move on, okay? So, go ahead, if you want to do this in your notebook, cool, or if you just want to verbally participate, that's cool with me too, okay? So you can participate by speaking or on your notebook, either is fine, okay? So I'm not going to do the place value chart just because I think it's more confusing than helpful, okay? So right here we have 4,000 times 30, do you agree?
Yep.
All right, so when we break it into unit form, we get 4,000s for 4,000. Does that make sense? Are you with me so far? Okay, so looking at 30, thinking about unit form, it's going to be what? Go. Tens, good. 3 tens. Okay, so we take our original number that's in standard form, our original problem, we break it into unit form, okay, where there's a number and words, right? 4 thousands times 3 tens. Okay. Then we pull apart the whole numbers, right? The numbers that are in front of the units. So it already gave us 3. So what's going to go in this blank right here? Go. 4. Good. So we take the numbers out of it. We basically move them around, right? We shift the numbers together. We shift the units over together, right? So we have 4 times 3 over here. Then thousands times what, my friends? Go. Tens. Awesome. So that becomes 4 times 3, which is 12. Okay? And then think about thousands times 10, right? So thousands times tens would be 1,000 times 10. Okay? Think about what that would be. 1,000 times 10. Think about it. Ready? Go. What is it? 10,000. Good. And here's a helpful hint. Okay? When we're multiplying the units like that, okay, think about a place value chart, okay? We're always thinking about a place value chart, but 1,000 times 10, remember, anytime we multiply anything, it gets bigger, right? It moves to the left on a place value chart. So it's going to get bigger by 1 place value, right? So here's 1,000. Multiplying it by 10, it just moves up 1 place value, right, to 10,000. Does everybody see that connection? For the most part? Okay. So then from there, we multiply 12 times 10,000, which gives us 120,000. Okay. Everybody kind of seeing the process there? It takes some practice, but it's helpful to know your place value, right? It's helpful to know like the distinction between the units and like the whole number, right? The amount that we have. Right? Any questions on this guy? Do you need some time to write it? I see some people writing, so I'll give you a little bit.
I'm almost done with space on my page. I finished 1 page. Yes, you did?
Lily, were you next for backup? Okay, go. And then Maddie, you can go after. Cool. And Jackson, you don't have to worry about writing this if you're not, yeah. We're gonna move on, okay? All right. Awesome. So, let's see. I'm gonna do. I would really appreciate it if you were not making noise right now, okay? I'm gonna show you this really quick. So we do not have to use. I'm trying to think of my words right now. We do not have to use the units per se. You will have to practice with it on your homework, but we also can just break this apart into like its numbers, right? We can use the units to help us, but we don't have to write like 6, 10s, blah, 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 right? So if I were to do that, okay, I'm actually going to do this one on like a blank thingy.
Can we do it with you?
Nope. Gonna watch, okay? So 60 times 5, okay? Remember, in our heads, right, we can pull it into the units, so it's really 6 10s times 5 1s, right? So if we were to write that, though, in standard form, it would be 5 on one side, and then 10s times 1s, right? So now we're doing it with standard form, okay? Does everybody see the difference between what we just did and then what's going on now? Yeah. Okay, cool. Olivia? It would, but I'm just showing you like the difference. Like you could write the words 10s times 1s if you wanted, or you could write just the digits, like the number version, okay? So then we go through and solve it. We have 6 times 5, which is 30, okay? And then 10 times 1, which is 10. All right, so then we do 30 times 10, which gives us 300, okay? Again, we think of a place value chart. If 30 is in the tens place and it's multiplied by 10, it moves to the left 1 time, so it becomes 300 instead of 30, okay? So we can even do it that way, my friends, where we write it just in standard form instead of the units. Whatever way is going to work best for you, okay? Brady. Okay, that's okay. It happens to me super often, so it's all right. If you remember, just raise your hand and I'll come back to you. Yeah, Henry?
So you don't care, like, if we do it in
I do not, but the homework will ask you to do a certain one. But like in the future, you can do it whatever works best for you. Okay, any questions? I know this is like mind bending a little bit. Okay, Brady, you remember?
I just have a question. Like, why didn't we do math yesterday?
Because I just was like, we just kind of ran out of time. I wanted to get that social studies stuff done real quick, and I wanted to finish up that science thing, so. All right, great, my friends. I think we are ready. You want to do area and perimeter again?
No.
All right.
Easier. I didn't like that lesson.
It's okay. It's okay. All right. You also will be doing this sort of thing. It would be really cool if you paid attention right now. Okay. You will also be taking numbers that are not like multiples of 10. It does say find the product using any method. So there you go. Any method. Okay. If you would like to do standard algorithm, you may do that. Although on your homework, I'll kind of show you what that looks like. Okay. So here's part one of like problem set and homework. When it says think 23 ones times 2 tens, right? It wants you to give the total number of tens right there. Okay. So then here it would be like 41 ones times 4 ones is 164. What? What?
Or once, yeah.
Okay. So it's just saying it in a different way. So pausing on that. Here you have to determine if the equations are true or false. So you have to have your knowledge of units, right? Understanding your place value. Would 2 tens times 3 tens equal 6 tens? That's what you're trying to figure out. Like, would it actually equal 6 tens? Or would it equal something different, right? So you're going to go through and just write true or false. You don't have to like defend your answer. Just say true or false. Yeah, Eddie? That's fine. But if it is false, I want you to write what it actually equals. So, for example, let's do A together. 2 tens times 3 tens. If we break it apart, right? 2 times 3 times tens times tens, right? What is 10 times 10, my friends? 100. What is 2 times 3? Go. 6. It would equal 600, not 6 tens, which is 60, right? So I would want you to write false, and then what does it actually equal? 600. Okay, so you could put F, that's fine, but I do want you to write what it actually equals. Henry?
And on the one before that, it wants you to write how many, like, on the first problem, you showed that it said, like, think. And on that, does it just want you to write the tens, or does it want you to write the ones, too?
Yeah, I was gonna, like, blow through and show you something else, but since we're talking about it, I'll just go back, yeah. So, when it says think, it wants you to write the total number of tens in this one, for example. So, like, 23 ones times 2 tens, it would equal how many tens total is kind of what it's shooting for. If this part is confusing, don't do it. Just do it how we did it during the lesson. So, like, breaking it apart. So, like, 2, it's a little different, right? But it would be like 2 tens, 3 ones, 2 tens, right? So it would be 10 times 10 times 1, right? So you're still breaking it apart, even though it's a little different than what we were doing in our lesson. Like, this is more what we were doing in our lesson, okay? So if that part's confusing, do it how we were doing it in the lesson, but it is just asking you to kind of give like the total number of tens because we're multiplying by ones, right? So if like let's look at let's look at this one. Sorry, I'm bouncing all over. This one, okay? So then 23 tens times 2 tens would be 23 times 2, and then tens times tens, right? So you could say that it was, think this way, 46 hundredths if you wanted. Okay. So based on like the unit that comes out of the answer. Okay. I know I'm not explaining that well. I can come and help you individually. Henry?
I'm
I know. That's why I was trying to like avoid explaining it because I wanted to bounce to this first. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm so sorry. Okay. So for 3, okay, we're gonna ditch 1 for right now. I'll come back to that. Okay. For 3, it says find the product. Okay, product is the answer to a what problem?
Answer.
Multiplication.
Thank you.
Multiple.
Product is the answer to a what problem?
Multiplication.
Multiplication, okay? So you're finding the answer to the multiplication problems. Show your thinking. The first row gives you some ideas to show your thinking. So it looks like a lot, but it's not, okay? It's taking like the same kind of digits and increasing it by place value. Do you guys see that part already? How it's like 45 times 3, 45 times 3 tens, 400 or 45 tens times 3 tenths, right? So it's like increasing by amount, okay? So you're gonna find the answer for each one and show how you found that, okay? So like for the example for on A, it has you breaking apart the units, right? But it's just not writing it in unit form. But we take the 7 and the 9, we take that out, and that gives us 63. And then it's 10 times 1, right, which is 10. And then we multiply it together. Then here, it has 7 times 10, 9 times 10, right? So there's a number of ways that you can split it up. Basically, it just wants you to split it up so you can multiply more easily. However, that's going to work for you. What you're not doing on 3 is just doing the standard algorithm, okay? You have to break it apart into the distributive and associative properties, move it around, that sort of thing, okay? Henry?
So if on that one it's saying, and it doesn't, and you don't have to do like, because it says on the 70 times 90,
Mm-hmm.
Instead of doing like,
You got it.
it was supposed to, didn't we do it like for the 100 instead of just like 10?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's doing it a different way where it's like pulling it apart. Like 70 is 7 times 10, 90 is 9 times 10, right? But then it's like giving an extra step, basically, on this one, specifically. So it's just another way to kind of move it around. So yeah. I know it's a lot. I know. And I am working on figuring out ways to explain it a little more easily. So that's on me too. But yeah. And then D is part of that. And you can skip 4, 5, 6. I don't even know if I printed that on there, but so then, okay. Scratch what I told you about 1, okay? I want you to read it. I know. And when it says think, okay? Don't ignore the word think, okay? It just is breaking it apart into the units, right? 23 ones. It could have also said 2 tens, 3 ones, right? It could have said that. I've done it. You don't need to help. It's fine. They got it. Okay. They could have said that, but right, they smushed it over to the ones place. Okay. I have a feeling we're paying attention to that instead of listening. It's okay. All right. So they could have said 2 tens, 3 ones, right? For 23. Or sorry, yeah, for 23.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So they could have said 2 tens, 3 ones, but they didn't. They smushed it all over to the ones place and said 23 ones. Okay? But they could have done it the other way. That would have been fine. Right? Then 20 is 2 tens. Okay? So it wants you, when it says think, it wants you to just think in your head about what we just did in the lesson, where they pulled apart the whole numbers, okay, separate from the units. So they're putting like 1s and 10s together, right? And then 23 and 2 together to get our answer down here, okay? So what it wants you to do here is see that when we multiply, remember 1s times 10s is just 1 times 10, right? It's just saying it in a funky way. So 1s times 10s is 1 times 10. What is 1 times 10?
10.
Okay? So then you're just like pushing it over, okay? I think me explaining it more is just going to keep making it confusing.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to you to try, and I can come help you individually, okay? Honey, I'm going to answer your question individually, okay? Because I think it's just going to keep.
It's like saying something.
Okay, go ahead.
So basically, when it's like the ones and ones, like that 1 times 1, so it'd be ones again.
So 164 ones. And so then your answer would just be 164. Right? So, all right. I'm sorry. First and foremost, I'm sorry. My thing that I was going to say that is going to help you too is that a lot of what we're doing, this is like a really important bit, so I would be paying attention. So, here's the important bit as far as our module goes, okay? In the beginning of this module, we're learning, the topic is called multiplication strategies. So this is a strategy that we're learning. If a strategy does not work for you, it's okay. So like if this is confusing, don't worry. I want you to still try it, but if at the end of like doing the homework and stuff, you're like, yeah, no, that wasn't for me, that's okay. For some of us, it works really well. Some of us, it doesn't. So that's I hope takes a weight off your shoulders. If you're like, holy cow, Miss Witt, I only know how to do standard algorithm. I don't get this. It's okay. I still want you to try it. Okay? I still want you to try it. I still want you to learn other strategies. So that in the future, if you come across a problem that's like really, really big and you remember how to do this, you can try it out, right? Yeah. All right? So I hope that's words of encouragement for you. It doesn't mean, hey, don't try your best on this. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying try your best, and if at the end of trying your best you're still like, I'm sorry, Miss Witt, I don't get it, it's okay. All right? Does that make sense? All right. So I pretty much give you permission to just try your best and then move on. You know, that's kind of what we're shooting for. Okay?